Hello everyone, my name is Michael and welcome back to沙耶の唄. Now before I start playing the game today, I want to point out something that I thought was really interesting from the file name. So if we go to the very top of the Song of Saya's game file, it says Song of Saya version 1.00s, which I assume means version 1 Steam. The thing that I thought was really interesting is the .00, which could mean that this is the first version they posted on Steam in 2019. If we go to the Steam store page, it says that this game was published in 2019 onto Steam. That means the version 1.00s is the first ever iteration of Song of Saya that they put on this platform, and they have not changed it in the past 6 to 7 years. I ran into that one. I decided to look into their devlog, like the activity tracker on Steam, just to, see if they made any devlogs or notes about updates. And the only thing they put on here was notice on potential misclassification of Steam screenshots in March 20th of this year. This whole thing reads, well, I'm just going to read it real quick in case people are wondering. Due to Valve's official request for developers concerning the review of adult content in the community, we will be systematically organizing content within the Steam community to continue providing an enhanced gaming experience for more players on this platform. Given the high volume of manual reviews, there may be instances of normal comment mistakenly being flagged. We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience this operation may have caused. If you believe your content has been incorrectly flagged, please submit a ticket on our official website, including the ID of the screenshot that was mistakenly flagged. We will relay this information to the relevant management personnel for further verification and handling, not viewing, verification and handling. So, yeah, the only thing that they put onto their community dev log is, that's a really nice cosplay. That's a really nice cosplay. I believe that says, Jenna? Yeah, that's a really nice cosplay, Jenna. That's a really nice cosplay. Anyways, going back to what I was saying earlier, that was totally off topic. But, yes. So, from what it appears, this is the first ever version of the game that they put onto Steam. And they not updated it for the past 7 to 6 years. I learned my lesson last time. I am not going to say the other thing. Actually, instead of continuing on this ramble, I'm going to be loading the game and, yeah, seeing what happens. Is that a voicemail?
ダメだ。
This is the third day in a row that they haven't been able to get in touch with Omi. That was definitely a voicemail they were trying to call her. There's no sign that she returned to her apartment, and even her family doesn't know anything. Her parents have already filed a missing persons report.
まあ、あいつのことだからな。何事もなかったみたいに、ひょっこり顔出しそうな気もするんだが。
だといいけど。
Yo replies with a gloomy expression. She's worried about Omi, of course, but the incident with Fuminori 3 days ago must still be weighing on her as well. Yo hasn't seen Fuminori since then, and Fuminori hasn't made any effort to approach her or Koji. 4 people used to meet in this cafeteria between classes, but now there are only 2.
ねえ、トノくん、もう一度考えてみようよ。どこかオミちゃんの行きそうな場所に心当たりない？
I have a prediction what's about to happen. Yo and Koji might be going to Fuminori's apartment, and they're going to find the dead body of Omi or signs of Omi's blood on the ground. I'm calling it now. They're going to see something disturbing regarding Omi's body, and Fuminori only sees like these green globs that Saya makes. They're not going to see the green globs. They're going to see body parts.
いや、一通りは確かめたしな。
Koji answers evasively. It's a lie, of course. Koji knows where Omi planned to go that evening, but he doesn't want to bring Fuminori up in front of Yo. That might be a mistake, though, because if Koji goes by himself to Fuminori's house, and Yo doesn't know, Koji could go missing and Yo's all by herself. Their awkward silence is mercifully broken by the bell signaling the start of the next period.
じゃあ、俺行くわ。
Unless Koji is mistaken, Yo is supposed to have class next period too, but she just sits there, staring off into space. Unable to come up with anything to say, he leaves the cafeteria reluctantly. That's a very small cafeteria. I mean, it could be a small medical college as well. Both Omi's disappearance and Yo's depression worry Koji, and both problems lead back to the exact same place. Fuminori.
Fuminori wa ittai.
When Omi went missing, the first thing he did was question Fuminori. After all, the last time he'd seen her was just before she stormed off to give Fuminori a piece of her mind. Fuminori responded with unequivocal denial, and acted like he hadn't had the slightest idea why Omi would have gone to see him. Perhaps that was only natural, as he was unaware that Omi and Koji had witnessed him reduce Yo to tears. Did Omi even make it to Fuminori's house? She had been riding a wave of emotion when she left, and might have calmed down and changed her mind halfway there? Or perhaps she ran into some trouble on the way. Koji concluded, or more accurately, convinced himself, that one of these possibilities was the truth, subconsciously denying the one remaining possibility that Fuminori was lying, that he had met Omi and was involved with her disappearance. When questioned by the police, Koji told the truth about Omi's destination only up to the train station, maintaining that he had no idea where she planned to go after that. He wanted to cooperate with the search, of course, but Omi couldn't have made it to Fuminori's house. Fuminori said so himself, didn't he? In that case, he told the police everything they needed to know. Maybe you should have brought up Fuminori. You should have brought up Fuminori's house. Not wanting to get the still fragile Fuminori involved, he forced himself to accept this flimsy logic. But the conflict has built up inside of him without his notice, leaving unanswered suspicion to fester in his mind. Koji is deep in thought, paying no attention to his surroundings, but perhaps that is what allows him to catch sight of his friend's back through the crowd of milling students. Hey, Koji. How you doing? Oh, am I supposed to?
Fuminori.
There we go. At first, Koji assumes that he's headed to the lecture hall, but it soon appears that he is instead going home. Strange. Medical students have required courses in the afternoon. Though he is initially surprised, Koji's hesitation lasts only for a second. He follows his friend, taking care to stay far enough behind that he won't be noticed. Fuminori wasn't going home, as became obvious when he boarded a train heading in the opposite direction. Koji's next guess was that he was going to see his doctor at the T University Hospital, but Fuminori rode straight through the closest station.
どこに向かってる?
At first, Koji felt ashamed for telling his friend like this, but his conscience fell silent as Fuminori's actions grew more mysterious. The stranger it gets, the closer Koji feels to discovering the truth behind Fuminori's sudden transformation. Any knowledge would be welcome, no matter how slight. Even Koji's beginning to think that there must be more behind Fuminori's change than the accident alone. He wants a more satisfying answer, one that will help him decide whether Fuminori can still be trusted. Fuminori gets off at a small station in a nondescript suburb of Tokyo. Koji follows, trying not to lose sight of him amid the other disembarking passengers. The Fuji Station. The area is quite desolate, with only a small bookstore, a convenience store, and a market in front of the train station. It is easy for Koji to keep Fuminori in view. This neighborhood... Bourhood? Now, in some spellings in neighborhood, it's B-O-U-R-H-O-O-D, but in this spelling, it's B-O-O-R-H-O-O-D. Oh no. Version 1.00s may have to become version 1.01s. Oh no! Did I ruin their 6-year streak? They're probably not gonna update this, I'm gonna be honest. They're not gonna ever update this. This neighborhood was carved out of the Fuji foothills, and here and there remain steep inclines and wooded areas that escaped assimilation. Koji is amazed that such a quiet place exists less than an hour out of central Tokyo. Fuminori seems to know these streets. He moves quickly and purposely through the suburban community, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Before long, Fuminori reaches a house. Without ringing the bell or even knocking, he opens the door and vanishes inside, leaving Koji to wonder how Fuminori can treat the house as his own. After waiting to see if Fuminori comes back out, Koji approaches the gate and checks the nameplate. Ogai, it reads. Koji has never heard of anyone by that name among Fuminori's acquaintances. Next, his attention is drawn to the thick wadded leaflet sticking out of the mail slot. This, coupled with the general dilapidated feel of the place, suggests that it has been abandoned for some time. A small playground about 2 blocks away provides an adequate vantage point from which to watch the front of the Ogai home. Fortunately, it does not appear to be the sort of house that has a real exit. Koji settles down on a bench to begin his stakeout. I should have brought more smokes. Oh! I did not realize that Koji was a smoker. Huh. There's nothing wrong with that, of course, but I was a bit surprised. 1 hour passes, and then another, but there remains no sign of movement around the Ogai residence. Soon, twilight settles upon the neighborhood. After Koji's 1 pack of cigarettes runs out, the stakeout becomes a battle against the mounting impatience. He kills time by redialing Omi on his cell and sending her short text messages, but his efforts are futile, as he knew they would be. When the sky begins to turn deep blue and the streetlights come on, Fuminori finally emerges from the house and heads back towards the station with the same hurried stride. After some brief consideration, Koji decides that right now, investigating the house is more important than tailing Fuminori. He rings the doorbell just to make sure. After receiving the expected silence in response, he checks to make sure no one is watching and turns the doorknob. The door is not locked. Alright, let's see what's in the Ogai residence. Oh. That's some pretty horrific music. The moment he enters the house, stale air thick with mold and dust fills Koji's nostrils. It is the unmistakable smell of a house that has long lain untouched. There is also a faint hint of something else in the air, something reminiscent of damp sewers and fetid cisterns. Fetid cisterns? What is a fetid cistern? Hold on, give me one moment. What is a fetid cistern? Alright, so apparently...
Fetid.
Fetid means having a heavy offensive smell. What's the British pronunciation? Hold on.
Fetid.
Fetid.
Fetid. Fetid.
Okay, fetid sounds more accurate, and also, I don't think we use fetid in America that often. So I'm just going to say fetid for right now. Meanwhile, outside of fetid, cistern means is a waterproof receptacle for holding liquids. And I noticed that there's toilet cisterns. So, I think the way that they want you to read that line in沙耶の唄is a nasty, foul-smelling toilet. That is a fetid cistern. Flipping the light switch does nothing. The power must be cut off. Koji uses his cigarette lighter to illuminate the immediate area. In the thick dust covering the floor, he sees several brand new trails of footprints that could have only been made by shoes, Fuminori's. Koji decides to follow suit and dispense with courtesy. He enters with his shoes on. I mean, your socks could get dirty if you did not take your shoes off. At least in this case. Like, usually in Japanese households, you want to take off your shoes, or, well, any household in general. Like, I take off my shoes as soon as I enter my own home. But anyways, for this situation with this house being, this dilapidated, I understand keeping your shoes on for this one. The lighter's flickering flame pushes back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. Koji is surprised to see evidence of life remaining. Everything from furniture to tableware and appliances. Nothing seems to be missing. The thickness of the dust suggests that the house has been empty for several months, which means that the owner must have left with a little more than the clothes on his back. Could he have gone on a long vacation? The calendar in the den is still turned to April, empty and silent, yet still exhibiting signs of the life that was once lived there. The house reminds Koji of a passenger ship entombed at the bottom of the sea. In the graveyard-like quiet, a sinister thought suddenly enters his mind. No one is living here, but that does not mean that the owner left. Maybe he was murdered, and his rotting corpse is right under Koji's feet. He finds himself wanting a stronger light. A flashlight in his hand will make him feel much better. Koji follows Fuminori's footsteps to the second floor, where he begins to catch the scent of paper in the stale air. It is the smell of old books, instantly recognizable to anyone who has worked in an antique bookstore or library. I have worked at a book restoration project before, so I have gotten, somewhat familiar with the sound of the scent of old moldy books. Like, I got kind of used to it while I was, archiving a bunch of books and digitizing, the information in them. It was a strange job that I had in undergraduate, but it was actually a really nice job. I liked it. The first room on the second floor turns out to be a study. Its towering shelves packed with such a vast number of books that Koji fears for the stability of the floor. As a medical student himself, he is able to discern at a glance that the study belongs to a medical professional, and a high-level one at that. Judging by the content of the books, a smorgasbord of technical volumes far beyond a simple student's understanding. The owner's interests lie more with medical research than with clinical practice. Smorgasbord? What the fuck is this word? Who uses smorgasbord? I'm sorry, but this is definitely not a word that most people use regardless of where they are in the world. Okay, for people who are outside the US, how often do you use smorgasbord? That's not a word that's commonly used. I think I know what smorgasbord means, so I'm not going to look it up, but I'm losing my mind with the fact that I just used it. That's not a commonly used word, is it? Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somewhere else in the world, smorgasbord is used more commonly. May it be Australia, India, Europe. Those places that speak English as well as America might use smorgasbord a lot more. But I don't think most English speakers, regardless of where they are in the world, use the fucking word smorgasbord. Sorry, translator. I'm really sorry. I had to do that quick ramble. Okay, your translation is good. I'm gonna give you this. The translation is good. I just don't like the use of this word randomly. It's such a weird ramble. I'm so sorry. I just, for some reason, that's what my mind chose to, go after. Fuminori must have spent most of his time here. The scattered dust suggests that he was searching for something, and the contents of the desk drawers are in obvious disarray. A small pile of books stacked on the side table catches his eye. Being next to the desk, they must have been the most frequently read. Their nature could shed some light on the character of the person who worked here. Koji frowns as he examines the 3 books. These aren't scientific texts like the rest, but old, leather-bound Western tomes like the sort you would find in a rare bookstore. The titles are meaningless to him. Traité de chiffres, my apologies to my French viewers, appears to concern semiotics, but Ars Magna et Ultimum is kind of a treatise on divination? Ars Magna et Ultima. So large and ultimate? Large and ultimate? Ars Magna et Ultima. I'm gonna wait. I need the Latin translator. I'm so sorry that I'm going on so many side tangents in this video, but okay, I feel like I know what this should mean. Ars Magna. Oh, Ars is art. Great is Magna. Oh. Yeah, okay. I forgot what Ars meant. It's been oh god, I last learned Latin in 2019. Oh my god! When this game came out, and when version 1.00s was released to the world in English, that was the last time I studied Latin. Maybe if I study Latin again, we'll get version 1.01. But okay, So it is basically great and ultimate art. That's what the rough translation is. And then there's the Voynit. Well, I know what the Voynit manuscript is, yeah. The Voynit manuscript, which looks like some sort of picture book. When he pages through it, he finds the text utterly incomprehensible. Maybe it's some kind of cipher. I believe some people have been trying to use AI to decipher the Voynich manuscript, and I don't think even AI could translate it. Like, I know a bit about the Voynich manuscript because I watched a few videos on it and listened to a few podcasts because it's a really interesting subject. Like, if you've not checked out the subject of the Voynich manuscript, I highly recommend to do so, and I believe they might have a scan of it on the Internet Archive. I'm not 100% sure on if they have it on the Internet Archive, but I assume that they might. I'm not, the most sure about that myself, but I'll check out the Internet Archive if you can, just to see if they have a copy. You know what? I'm the internet funny man. I could just look it up real quick. Yes, this is the Voynich manuscript. Like, yeah, this is literally a scan of the Voynich manuscript, and I highly recommend checking this out. I know YouTube's weird about archive.org links, so I'm not going to link it into the description, but if you go to archive.org and look at the Voynich manuscript, that's where you could actually read the Voynich manuscript, just scanned. Like, the actual Voynich manuscript is on the internet. Man, I could make a whole ramble about the Internet Archive, but I'm not going to right now because that would take, a lot of time. But I highly recommend checking out the Internet Archive if you are just looking for something and you can't find any other resource to find it. Internet Archive, like, that's my best recommendation. If it's lost everywhere else, it's on the archive. That's what I truly believe in. If you can't find it anywhere else, go to the archive. Well, if it's not on the archive, then you have to go to the Lost Media search wikias and all that and, make articles and forums about it. But that's a whole other subject. And yes, I'm very big on preserving, archiving, and finding lost media. I'm very big on that. I watch a lot of videos. My old roommate used to complain by the amount of lost media videos he wakes up for me to be watching in the living room of our old apartment. Whatever they are, they clearly have nothing to do with medicine, refuting Koji's earlier guess that this Ogai was a doctor. Are you sure? Looking down, Koji suddenly notices the glint of something black and metallic underneath the chair. And also, wait, just because you have those books does not mean you're not a doctor. Like, people can have other interests. Like, yes, I may be a game developer, but I really like, old movies. I really like, just TV shows in general. So if you don't see books about game development and you see, like, I don't know, a box set of Dexter Season 1, am I not a game developer and just a Dexter fan? No, you could be a game developer and a Dexter fan. So this doctor, he could be into some, old texts and, just mysteries in general and also be a doctor. Like, you could be interested in the occult and still do medical practice. Is that taboo? Kind of, because you're doing medical practice. At the same time, though, you could have other interests in your occupation. A pocket-sized flashlight. Quite out of place among all these dusty books. Fuminori must have brought it in. With relief, Koji exchanges his lighter for the flashlight. His tiny body emits a powerful white beam that casts away the darkness. His courage restored, he decides to explore the rest of the house. Koji notices something strange, something that was not visible in the lighter's weak flame. The slime. Is Saya here? Is Saya here? Oh no, is Saya here? Dark, oily stains are everywhere. The stains are especially thick around the doorknobs and stair banisters, like someone grasped them with hands wrapped in greasy cloth. Looking closer, he sees places where slime was splashed low on the walls, almost as if a wet mop was run violently across the floor. Could Ogai have made these marks? If so, how? Koji begins to feel sick as he imagines a man shambling through the house with slime dripping from his body. Oh, what the fuck? Finding the bedroom next to the study, Koji checks the closet on a hunch. He discovers 2 empty suitcases. Not one would be behind when going on a long vacation. A sudden chill runs through him. Whoever was living here is still somewhere inside the house. Suppressing the urge to flee, Koji goes back downstairs to check the first floor. If he finds a corpse, he'll have to call the police right away. He might get away with trespassing if he reports at first, but if they find the body later, it'll be awfully hard to explain his fingerprints all over the house. But there'll also be Fuminori's fingerprints. The flashlight reveals the den to be covered in even more slime than the rest of the house. The sofa looks as though it was dredged from the bottom of a swamp. In the kitchen, Koji takes one look at the sink and decides not to get any closer. He doesn't want any more fuel for his imagination. He reaches the door to the bathroom. A common scene from TV dramas flashes through his head. A body was floating in the bathtub full of water. And wasn't there a movie where a hitman disposes of his victim in a bathtub filled with lye? Disposes his victim in a bathtub filled with lye. What is this movie you're talking about? Wait, what? What is this movie? I'm sorry again, everyone. I'm going on a side tangent. Movie where body is in bathtub of lye. Oh, not Leah. Lye. Oh my god, no. Okay, movie where body's in the bathtub of lye. Bones, the truth of the lie. No, it's not Bones. That's a TV show. And that's from 2006. Yeah, that's from 2006.沙耶の唄was 2003. Not Breaking Bad. That's a really good scene. It could be Urban Legends. I don't know, actually. It could be a Japanese movie. Yeah, now that I think about it, it could be a Japanese movie, so I might have to research this on Japanese version of Google, or Japanese Yahoo. Probably Yahoo. Yeah, Yahoo will probably have a better answer than Google, because Google kind of sucks with Japanese sometimes, especially even if you're using a VPN, they still give you some English resources, even though you're using a Japanese VPN, because you're obviously trying to look for Japanese sources, but you still get the fucking English sources, because you're connected to an American internet company, even though you're using a VPN. It's so weird. I'm not going to explain it right now. But still, at the same time, I'm going to look it up on Yahoo because Google can suck sometimes, and the AI can suck my dick. Koji braces himself for the worst and opens the door slowly, then shines his light into the ceramic bathtub that appears from the darkness like a white ghost. Nothing. Oh, never mind, that's not nothing! Bones. A mountain of bones, black with dry flesh and blood. Koji puts one hand against the wall to steady himself as his legs threaten to buckle. Something is wrong, he realizes as he tries desperately to get his thoughts in order. The bones are too small, and there are too many of them. Is this Saya? Saya? They aren't human. After taking several deep breaths to calm himself, Koji enters the bathroom and examines the tub. The bones are piled atop of each other like fallen leaves. They appear to be from small animals, perhaps dogs or cats. These are Saya's food sources. Her previous food sources. So that means Omi's bones could still be present within Fuminori's house, actually. I think that's what this means. There's bones of small animals. Those are likely Saya's previous food sources, because this is Dr. Ogai's house, where Saya was before. That means Omi's bones might be able to be found. Even so, the quantity is mind-boggling. How many bodies would it take to produce this many bones? The bones have all been separated from one another, so it doesn't look like bodies were just thrown into the tub and left to rot. Each bone is covered with deep grooves, marks left by teeth biting through flesh. Oh yeah, Saya. Koji's sanity won't let him consider the possibility that a human could have done this. The owner of this house must have some sort of carnivorous animal as a pet, giving it the bones of small animals to eat, and disposing of the remains in the bathtub. Okay, Koji, riddle me this. Why the fuck is Fuminori going into this place in your mind? Like, what's going on in your mind? Like, why is your friend going into this fucking place? But why not dispose of the leftovers properly? They could have just been thrown out with the garbage. Or was there something keeping him from leaving the house? The relief Koji felt when he realized that the bones weren't human is once again under attack. In the first place, what the hell was Fuminori doing here? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
どうしたコウジ。
I'm sorry, Koji. I think you're next. I think you're next to go. Koji rolls around, his light revealing Fuminori's expressionless face.
不法侵入だぞ、コウジ。
And you're one to talk?
お前だって同じだろうが。
Koji replies, barely managing to speak over the pounding of his heart. Fuminori pushes past Koji and looks into the bathtub. He doesn't even flinch at the sight of the bones.
僕はこの家の人と知り合いなんだ。頼まれて探し物をしに来ただけさ。知り合いって、いつから？一体何者なんだ？
Koji doesn't want to believe that the old, friendly Fuminori could have had contact with the denizens of this house.
いずれお前にも紹介するよ。僕の恩人とも言える人だから。
I don't know if Koji is going to be able to perceive Saya the same way you do, Fuminori. Also, with all the shit you've been doing to Yo, I don't even know if Koji is going to be friends with you after this. Especially after this incident inside the Ogai residence. He says, trying to leave without even a glance at Koji.
Oi, Fuminori!
Koji runs after Fuminori. His heart is finally beating normally again.
お前まさか近頃様子がおかしいのはその知り合いっていうやつのせいなんじゃ。
Standing in the entrance, Fuminori glares coldly at Koji over his shoulder. The other lack of emotion in his eyes give Koji pause.
僕の後をつけてきたんだね、コウジ。
Koji swallows. What can he say?
そういうのは迷惑だ。二度とやらないでもらいたい。ああ。
Man, you should be more confrontative, Koji. Fuminori's been acting really weird. And you're just being like, fine, I'm sorry for following you. That was not cool on me. I'm not gonna do it again. Like, don't do that shit. Confront Fuminori. Fuminori's being a fucking dick. Fuminori walks away without another word, leaving Koji alone in the entrance. Up until this very moment, concern for his friend was still at the forefront of his mind. Now, however, that concern is swiftly giving way to a growing sense of dread. Does the Fuminori he knew no longer exist? Was the person who just stared Koji down an imposter wearing Fuminori's skin? Koji has begun to believe that it might be so. What a nuisance. Why does he insist on interfering? If only he spoke with me to I'm going to repeat that. If only he spoke to me to exchange pleasantries, even I could bear it. But now he's sticking his nose into my business just to satisfy his curiosity? Koji is a perfect example of someone who thinks that it's always good to take an interest in other people's affairs. He probably thinks that he's doing me a favor by prying into my life. He couldn't be more wrong. If he keeps this up, I might have to find a way to deal with him. Like Saya said, I have to keep my search for Dr. Ogai a secret. Koji could ruin everything. I didn't have time to fully investigate the Ogai residence today. At this rate, it will probably take me several days just to go through the study. Saya didn't believe that I'd find anything to help with the search, but I think there's still lots more to explore. Who knows what I'll discover? The problem is Koji. He knows about the house now. Will he make things difficult? A hair-raising voice calls as I'm about to pass through my gate. Suppressing a shudder, I put on a fake smile and turn to face the writhing mass of rotting flesh that is staring at me with bulging eyes. Who is this? Ah, of course. This is my next-door neighbor, Suzumi, a middle-aged painter, I think. who spends all day at home while his wife works. I haven't had much contact with him since the accident. Why is he suddenly talking to me now? That's a really weird question. What the fuck, dude?
はい。おかげさまで。
Really weird question. This is an uncomfortable conversation. Regardless of, how we see him as a flesh monster that has a really weird voice, this is just a really uncomfortable conversation. What is this? Did he stop me just to deliver a lecture?
まあそうですね。苦労してます。ええ。でもまだ学生の身ですし、高いには限りがあるんで、そういう浪費はちょっと。
What is this guy up to? He has an ulterior motive, I know for sure. The flesh beast undulates foully, as though it still has something to say. The sight of it is driving me close to the edge.
Ah, いえ、お構いなく。一人でもなんとかなりますから。
Okay, the house is in disrepair, so maybe I'll give the neighbor that. The house is looking to be in disrepair, so he's probably checking in on Fuminori saying, "Hey, buddy, this is a really big house. You're by yourself. You don't have a caretaker. Do you need help? Like, your yard's a fucking mess." Now I get it. He's worried that the unsightliness of my house might diminish the image of his own. Damn snob. Yeah, I mean, why would he care what another person does with their yard? Like, yes, I could get concerned. At the same time, though, like, I don't know how much Fuminori knows his neighbors enough for this to be a normal conversation. Maybe that's just like, me wondering. I'm like, yes, I do have some neighbors that I'm totally fine with, like, checking in on me and all that. But also at the same time, though, I have other neighbors where I'm like, I barely know them, so it would be weird if they talk to me all of a sudden. I don't know. Like, that's what I was, like, thinking in my head. I flash a token smile, then retreat behind the safety of my gate. I can feel Suzumi's eyes boring into my back, all the way to the front door. Why won't everyone stay out of my life? I just want to live together with Saya, alone, where no one will ever bother us. Oh shit. Oh, is that Suzumi? Oh shit. Suzumi Yosuke sighs in annoyance as he watches the neighbor boy retreat into his house. What's with his attitude? Even while talking, he kept his eyes averted, as if to avoid looking at something repulsive. Has he always been such an unpleasant young man? No, of course not. When his parents were still alive, he had been a normal youth, a little shy, but sensitive and caring. It must be the stress of his sad situation. If it continues to build, he might start to develop serious mental problems. Or is it too late already? Yosuke wonders as he gazes weirdly at the Sakisaka yard. Interesting. Even during dinner, Yosuke can't shake the neighboring house from his mind.
どうしたのあなた？難しそうな顔して。
That voice sounds very familiar. I don't know why, but that voice actress sounds very familiar.
今日ね、隣の家の息子に会ったよ。
お隣のって文則お兄ちゃん？
Fuminori Oni-chan? Wait, why are you calling him older brother? Like, did you have a connection with him?
ああ、庭のこと一言言っておいた。
Yeah, wait, do you have a connection with him? Yosuke's daughter? What connection do you have? You're calling him Oni-chan. Like, that feels like it's something, she had a close relation to. Like, usually Oni-chan is like something that you refer to as someone that you were close with, somewhat. Unless you call older neighbor boys Oni-chan in Japan? Okay, this might be a weird cultural thing that I'm not understanding at the moment. I need to probably look more into that in the future. Interesting. That's a very interesting comment that she's calling him Oni-chan.
そうよね。せめてあの匂いだけはどうにかしてもらいたいわよね。
Especially the use of the honorific chan, because chan means a familiarity to the point where you're comfortable, using that, I literally just said the word. Honorific, yeah. The familiarity to feel comfortable use the honorific chan, because usually you don't call people chan unless it's a younger child or someone you're really close with. Like, I guess in a way, like a friend that's really close to me could call me Maiku-chan or something. I've been called Maiku-kun, but not Maiku-chan. And usually chan is used for woman in Japan. That's one thing I do know as well. Like, kun is more like gender non-specific. Meanwhile, chan is more feminine, at least from what I understand of the honorifics of chan and kun. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure myself, but Oni-chan? That's a really weird honorific and really weird title to give your neighbor's, son. The stink coming from the Sakisaga house grows worse at each day, and the Suzumi family is at its wit's end.
あの草むらの中に死んだ猫でもいるんじゃないかしら。でも住んでいて気づかないのかしらね、あの匂いに。
まさかとは思うが、生ゴミをそのまま庭に捨てているんじゃあるまいな。
そんな、いくらなんでもそこまで。
いや、今の様子だとやりかねん。一日中ずっと雨戸を閉め切って何をやってるのかもわからない。どういう暮らしをしているのやら。
お兄ちゃん、頭おかしくなっちゃったのかな。
Okay, what is her connection with him? Why is she calling him Oni-chan?
これ、ヒロミ。そういう言い方はダメよ。
Hiromi, what's your connection with, Fuminori?
いや、あれは本当にちょっと遠すぎてる。ひょっとしたら変質狂か何かかもしれんな。
That's an understatement.
大丈夫なのそれ。
No.
早く自覚して医者にでも行ってもらわんことには、なんともな。
Alright. I guess, should I finish this day today, or should I call it here? Because usually this is my cutoff time, but this feels to be the end of this part of the day. I'm going to finish off this day as Fuminori, and then I'm going to end the video. The seconds crawl by, each tick of the clock compounding my agony. When I returned from the Ogai residence, I was greeted by a silent, empty home. Saya had vanished without leaving any clue as to her whereabouts. It isn't rare for her to go for walks at night. I have often gone with her. However, such outings always take place in the middle of the night, when no one is around, and never last for more than 2 hours. Right now, it's 5 in the morning. Soon the sky will begin to show the first light of dawn. Even if she left right before I returned, she's still been gone for almost half a day. I can't sleep. I could only wait in anguish. I tried to distract myself by painting more rooms, but I couldn't concentrate on the work. If I had known this would happen, I would have left the Ogai house sooner. I wish I hadn't wasted time on Koji. If Saya doesn't return, the thought makes me want to tear out my hair. After its long absence, the terror of true loneliness is too much to bear. At last.
ただいま。
Hi. At last, the cowbell chimes, and Saya's long-awaited "I'm home" rings out from the bottom of the stairs. As I jump out of my bed in relief, all the stress that has built up through the night is released in a wave that threatens to sweep me off my feet. She has more food.
疲れた。やっぱり往復すると遠いな。
She's gonna have food, isn't she? Saya sighs as she climbs the stairs.
さや、一体どこに？
My question trails off, as I notice the thick bundles of paper that she's carrying under her arms.
それは？
ふみのりのカルテとか手術の記録。今日
Oh,
は古巣の病院に行ってきたの。
wait, did you take them? You stole from a hospital, didn't you? Saya drops her bundles on the floor, sending papers flying everywhere. Then pulls her favorite. Sorry, just the noise she made is making me laugh. Then pulls her favorite cushion over and collapses into it, stretching luxuriously.
こんな夜中に T 台から歩いて戻ってきたのか。
ごめんね。本当はもっと早く帰れると思ってたんだけど、調べ出したらキリがなくて。
She says, skillfully gathering the scattered papers together.
結局全部持ち出してきちゃった。ああ、重かった。
Maybe it's just the exhaustion, but I'm not understanding a word Saya's saying.
だからそんなもの持ってきてどうするつもりなんだ。
どうするって、もちろん調べるのよ。うちで時間かけてじっくり。
Are you wanting? What was your goal with this, actually? Why do you need his medical records? She replies, holding one MRI photograph after another up to the light.
あら、何やってんだか。あ、これは要チェックかな。あとは、そうなんだ。なんだかな。
These are common things I hear in my Japanese class when I took it. At first, I think she's just playing around, but the occasional mutters of, better check this one. Oh, so de. Well, that was silly of them, and the like, as she separates photos into a growing pile beside her, make me think that this might not be a joke after all.
君、わかるのかこういうの。
パパにいろいろと教わったから。なるほどね。そういうこと。
She flashes me a grin, then returns to the papers.
これじゃいつまで経っても直せないよね。
What do you mean it can't be fixed?
直せないのか。
人間のお医者さんじゃね。
What do you mean it can't be fixed? I can't tell if she's being serious. What's not being able to be fixed?
私でもまだちょっと難しいかな。いろいろと試してからでないと。
Did you just confess in front of Fuminori that you're not human? She says offhandedly, even as her hands continue to shuffle papers. Did you just confess that? Watching more closely, I realize that her eyes are scanning each page rapidly. So rapidly, in fact, that I was unable to notice it at first. Could Saya actually be reading my charts?
なあ、さや。
She answers coolly, looking up from the charts.
今日はもう疲れたし、寝ないか。
Fuminoriがそうしたいならそうする。
Saya replies with a grin. Saya tosses aside the papers she was sorting, then leaps on me and begins to tear off my clothes. Ew. 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 Ew.
おい。
ねえ、寝る前に一回だけ。ね、いいでしょ
？Do I have anything nearby to scream into?
まさや、こう毎日続けてちゃ体に毒じゃないのか。
Fuminori、どこか具合が悪いの？
いや、僕は別に。ちゃんと大人の体になってるし平気なんだけど、でもさやはまだ。
平気だよ。
I'm not reading this.
平気なわけないだろう。今まで否認もしてないってのに。
No, fuck that. No, I'm not reading this shit.
Fuminori はさ、さやに子供産ませるの嫌？
What the fuck? Yeah, can you respond to that? Or maybe don't even fucking be doing this.
いやも何もさやみたいに小さい体じゃ無理だって。母体の負担ってのは大変なんだぞ。
Fuminoriが心配してることって割と的外れなんだけど。
Saya seems unsure how to reply, but not because she doesn't understand what I said. Rather, the bemused look on her face makes it seem as though I'm the one not getting it.
でもそれってFuminoriがさやのことを大事に思ってくれてるからなんだよね。それはそれで嬉しい。
This is pure manipulation from an eldritch horror, but of all forms you could have taken, why that form? Why that form? She says suddenly, her smile glowing with innocence. There's no excuse for this. No.
なあおい、だからさや。
大丈夫。じゃあ今夜はFuminoriが心配しないような方法でしてあげる。
Okay, wait. As she finishes, she looks up at me, smiling like she has just pulled the greatest prank of her life.
これだったらFuminoriだって心配ないでしょ。
いや、まあ。
I think this is where the Steam version censored out a scene, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, usually I'm anti-censorship, but for shit like... Look at the character. Look at the character. No. Fuck no. What am I supposed to say to that? Yeah, no. Fuck it. I'm okay with censorship of that sort of scene. I'm sorry. No. No, I'm not even sorry. Wait, why am I saying I'm sorry? No, I'm not even sorry. Yeah. I don't care to see that scene or read it. No. No. Of all forms for an eldritch creature, why this form? This is no. No. That's fucked up.
ねえ、ダメだった？こういうのだと気持ちよくない？
Oh. My hand went underneath my eyelid. Hearing the sudden nervousness in Saya's voice, I hastily stammer.
そんなことない。十分によかった。
You're getting put on the list.
でもさや、何もあんなもの飲み込まなくたって。
そんな。あれはさやにちょうだいよ。
Suddenly distraught, Saya clings to... That's an analogy to use right after what just happened.
Fuminoriのは一滴だって残さずに欲しい。さやの中に出してほしいの。
中にって。
Fuminoriは嫌？
嫌なんかじゃないさ。さやさえそれでいいのなら僕だって。
Fuminori大好き。
I have a trash can next to... I have a trash can at my desk. I felt a pang of self-loathing at the question. How can I still be afraid after all that's happened? Saya's feelings are so earnest. How can I not accept them? You should be self-loathing for what you are doing. I need to resolve, once and for all, to rid myself of the useless trappings of morality. By the time I drift to sleep in exhaustion's comforting embrace, all doubts about Saya's actions have vanished from my mind. Whatever the case, all that matters is that she's returned to me. We're continuing on with Yosuke next time. I'm done. Like, I said that this was going to be my cutoff anyway, but what the fuck? What the fuck? That is not cool. I'm sorry. No, I'm not even sorry. Stop saying I'm sorry. No, that is not cool. What the fuck? I'm glad I'm playing the Steam censored version. For that alone. Like, usually I'm against censorship, but that should not be in this game. Or Saya should not be in that form. As an electric horror, she should not be in that form and she's gonna do stuff like that. Fuck that. No. My god, I refuse to read those scenes. I am choosing to refuse to read those scenes. Whew. Oh my god, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? And no, I am not excusing 2003 Japan for that. I'm not excusing Moe. That was not okay then, and it's not okay now. What the fuck?
Okay.